from the Asian Community Development Council. This is Family in Focus, Mondays at 12 noon on PHLV Radio.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Family in Focus. Thank you so much for joining us here on PHLV Radio, the show that is brought to you by the Asian Community Development Council, or ACDC. Well, today we're going to be talking about an episode that affects a lot of communities, but especially the Filipino American community. We're talking about these consular services that are mobile, go to different parts of the country, and many consulates, of course, many countries do this, but we're talking in particular about the Philippine Consular Services, especially because they were just here in Las Vegas this past weekend. So if you don't know about this service, you've always been wanting to get more information. How do I get help through these consular services? Then this is the right place to be. We're going to be talking about this. We'll get into the information that you need to know, especially if you want to catch them the next time they're in town later this year. But for this show, we brought in some special guests to join us today. First, we have Bernie Bonito. He's a Filipino American community leader based here, been here in Las Vegas, Southern Nevada, many years. If you've gone to all the events Filipino American related, he will be there. We also have with us today Ronnie De Los Santos. He is the president of U.S. Filipino Veterans Group, Inc., based right here in Las Vegas as well. Welcome to the show. And also we have with us today the director of Family Services of ACDC, Vice Solano. Vice, thank you so much for joining us on the show as well. We have a great group of people here to talk about this issue. So I'm going to start with Bernie, since you've been at all these events. Bernie, thank you so much for being with us. I know you're a very busy guy, so I'm glad to have you here. So the Filipino Consular Services, I know they come out of LA, right?
Yes.
4 times a year. Talk to us about this. And they've been coming out to Las Vegas for many years.
Yes. Well, the purpose of the consular outreach, why they go out of their office, the main office, is the needs for consular services, because in LA itself, they cannot accommodate them all. That's why they extend the services outside of their main office, which is one of it is Las Vegas, Nevada, and it's 4 times a year actually that they come out here to render the consular services for our people.
And this is so important because, as you know, more and more Asian Americans, especially Filipino Americans, moving here, living here in Las Vegas, especially moving out of California. And the Filipino consulate in LA is the closest one to here, right? That's why they do this.
Well, actually, the proximity of Las Vegas and LA is just 4 hours away. And recently, we've been thinking about putting up a consular honorary consul here in Las Vegas.
Really?
But since the proximity is just 4 hours away, I think they're not considering putting up consular outreach here. I mean, consular office here in Las Vegas. And because of Las Vegas community, the Filipino American community here is so huge, numbering to more than 100,000.
Wow.
And of course, if all these people, especially the Filipino citizens, they cannot accommodate them in LA. And besides, appointment is to, I would say it's very scarce, because it's a first come, first serve appointment. And you cannot go to LA without an appointment.
And I think the needs are just so great now, especially, with the pandemic easing a little bit. People want to travel more. So tell us about, if people have never been to one of these events before, which the last one you just held this past Saturday, right, at Palace Station. What are some of the key services that they offer as part of this resource?
Well, it's like a little office of the Philippine Consulate. They offer dual citizenship, renewing of passport, and some civil registry documentary things. And also some questions about, about consular needs, like how can they... There's a lot of questions, inquiry about affecting the Filipinos when it comes to consular services. Because there's so many things that they don't know, actually. And in the website alone, it cannot be answered, all the questions or the inquiries that they are asking about.
And I think it's so important to have that kind of one-on-one conversation. A lot of people, and I wanted to bring Ronnie into the conversation here because actually this is the first time that your group, U.S. Filipino Veterans, actually hosted this event. So talk to us about that relationship. Like, how did you, get into that relationship and decided to host this event?
Well, for one thing, I could say it's a very, very great experience for my organization, okay? And thanks to Resty Lopez and Cynthia Deriguiro for their guidance.
And they're from Balayan, Las Vegas,
Balayan,
right?
yes. And they assisted us very well. So in that way, this is a good continuity, with the training and everything. So in the future, there's more organization that could help the Philippine consulate. So that's the goal.
So how is it this past, this is the first time you help host it. I'm sure it took a lot of planning and everything to get it together.
Yes. And I thank all my key leaders, my volunteers from my organization, and not just my organization, actually also Balayan's volunteers. And, we were able to have over, 340 just on... what was
the
that?
Passports, right?
Passports, yes.
Yeah.
And then dual citizenships around 120, and not to include the civil registries. It's no appointment needed. It's about 20-25.
So that's a great turnout for this Saturday, right?
Yes, and then according to the consular office, they said this is the most that they made their appointment. So they were very, very happy.
And do you think one of the reasons is because now people are looking to travel, maybe go back to the Philippines, and now that they can actually do it, they want to renew their passport and do all those things again. What did you hear from some of the people, Bernie, when you were out there, that they really been waiting to do this, right?
Well, I've been actually the communication guy for the Filipino American community, and most of our people ask inquiry from me with regards to, how can they get their passport, dual citizenship, and all that, because when they open up the Philippines without the quarantine, a lot of Filipinos would like to go back to the Philippines. It's not because they want to go back there, but because of the election that's coming up on May 9. And also to visit their families, because the last pandemic that we have, they won't want to spend their money going into a quarantine for 10 days.
Right. And now they don't have to, right? Like a lot of Asian countries.
Yes.
Yeah. No, that's great.
Yeah.
So I can see that the need of this is so much more. And Eda Vice Alana, Vice, I'm going to get you in the conversation too, because you were there on Saturday, and you are Director of Family Services at ACDC, and ACDC has been such a big part of getting the word out about community events like this. And I know part of what the organization does too is with these citizenship, So when you see these events and how they were so well attended, especially by the Filipino American, that must be a good feeling that they have these resources here.
Yes, definitely. It's because you having these resources available to our community. It makes them avail of it, and because it's convenient, and most especially we help out with the N400 application, and then some of our clients would come to us with these type of services, like how do I get my passport renewed, and that's how we connect them to the upcoming events and even help them set up an appointment. So it's very important to have these resources available.
And talk to me about the language factor, because I'm sure one of the things that, and sure Ronnie and Benito can talk to that too, is that the need for people who can speak the language, because people coming from different generations, right? And they feel like this is so overwhelming, there's so much information, what do I do? And Vice, with ACDC, that's one of the things that you do, is provide this kind of in-language help.
Yes. So we have multilingual staff and with particularly like with Tagalog speakers who can assist them. And we have clients who come to us who are more comfortable in communicating with a fellow Filipino, so that really allows us to help them in their own language.
Yeah, and that's what ACDC is great. It's about, being that kind of platform to share all this information, right? And Bernie, and so when you were at the event this past Saturday, was there anything different? Did it feel different from past, especially because of how things are changing? Did you talk to people and said, kind of why they chose to come, and was it more difficult? Any challenges? What did you hear from the people out there?
Well, it's all the same practically, because I've been leading the consular outreach since the 1980s here in Las Vegas, and the same feeling, the same the same emotions that they have. Most especially those people who went over there to be ushered in because they didn't have an appointment. But unluckily, and sad to say, that we cannot accommodate them all because the schedule is full, and they can only render services so much of a time.
Right.
That's why I've been encouraging them, to get into the website, keep an eye on it, especially 30 days before the slated consular outreach date, so that they can avail, the appointment schedule they have, because it's only by appointment only.
Yeah, and that's so hard, especially now, especially people who can't travel to LA, if they can't make it to this one. Any other advice you can give to people in terms of if they really need these services, what can they do?
Well, first of all, the reason why we are doing the consular services, consular outreach in Las Vegas, first of all, because of the concern that we have with our Filipino American community. They don't have to travel, especially the gas is going up, and the time consumed going to LA, stay there, park, pay the parking space and all that, and then coming back to Las Vegas. So there are avenues that they can avail of this kind of going, getting the services. Every Monday at 5 o'clock, they open up the appointment in LA.
That's good to know. Mark your calendar to do that. Yeah.
It's a first come, first serve, because a lot of people, thousands of them, because, the Philippine Consulate covers Arizona, Southern Nevada, Southern California, and can you just imagine the million of Filipinos that are under their territory or jurisdiction? Yeah. So it's really hard, but I am always encouraging them, urging them to keep an eye on the website, and if there are any problem and there are emergencies, the Philippine Consulate is very accommodating, especially during emergencies where people wants to go home and they have expired passport, they cannot get in. Yeah, they are so accommodating, really.
Yeah, and we have some pictures, from the event as well that we want to put up as we're talking about this, because Ronnie, so first time hosting the event with your group. Did you hear any stories, anything that kind of stood out with this past one that you saw that was something that you wanted to share?
A lot of them were saying, this time it's more organized. That's why we're so happy, because this is our first time hosting it. It's more organized. They see the order of it, and not just on the what you're seeing right now, but also on the vendor side, because we have vendors, right? So it's and it very fulfilling as the host, to hear that from people, even though all our volunteers were so tired. It's at the end of the day, knowing that we have helped a lot of these people, our Filipino American
it's a good feeling.
It's a great feeling.
Yeah.
So all the effort that we had put in paid off.
Yeah, and it's so great to see people come out and hearing about it, and we actually, I think we're seeing some pictures now. Vice, talk about some of these people, because these are people who couldn't make it to the show today, but they're really a big part of this event, right?
Yes, so these are some of our community leaders, as well as Cynthia Deriquito, which is the advisor for the National Federation of Filipino American Association, and then Resty Lopez, who you can see, who is the president of the Balayan organization, providing notary services to one of our community member. And so it's actually, I would like to add also, it's a great feeling to see not just the members availing of these resources, but having community leaders, Filipino community leaders, collaborate with each other in making sure that these type of resources is made available available to us.
Right, because we've been ACDC has done a lot of big events. It's not easy, right? Getting everyone together, getting all the vendors, getting all these people together. But when you work together, you have more people, more hands to help you. I'm sure that's how things become more organized, right? And better planning. And in the end, you end up helping more people because it's better planned. And Ronnie, and with your group, what's next? I mean, this is just one of the things that you do, but in other events that you do, you try to raise awareness of what services and things are available for Filipino Americans.
Yes. As a group, we started back in 2014. Okay, with one of our founders attended one of the funeral service of one of the Filipino veteran that day. And it was sad because there's not a whole lot of people. That's how we became an organization. They said, okay, this can never happen anymore.
Right. So
from 2014, started at 6. Now we're over 320.
Wow.
And still growing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because of the fact that, with our goal is as an organization is not just for the military community, but also for our Filipino American community to be able to help. And having more members will be able to do that.
Yeah, and I'm looking at your T-shirt right now, which I love because now you're a realtor. You're in the military, and now you're a realtor. But what's great is that making those connections and networking and getting people to know what everybody's doing. And Bertie knows this well, right? I mean, you that's how you grow as a community, become stronger, and help each other is to kind of work with these different organizations. And Bertie, this has changed a lot because you've seen more and more Filipino American moving here to Las Vegas. Does that surprise you how big this community is now?
Well, I think the influx of Filipino Americans in Las Vegas is because, number one, the economy, the standard of living, and the weather, of course. So, and there's a lot of amenities, benefits that people, when they come over, there's a lot of benefits that that offers them, like cheap houses, rentals, and all that. So, and besides, everybody wants to enjoy a 24 hours.
Yeah, it's convenient.
In other cities, you cannot at 9 o'clock. I think they're all sleeping.
Right. No, and you've been here since 1970?
Yes, 1970.
So things have changed a lot.
Oh yes. I've seen the development of Las Vegas. Before it's just a desert area, and I've seen them all. In 1990s, that's when the Filipinos comes over to Las Vegas.
Right.
They
big
migrate
numbers.
to Las Vegas,
Yeah.
and then so on and so forth from all over the states. And I'm so glad, that as a matter of fact, I would like to say this one that. Because of the number of Filipino Americans in Las Vegas, they are the one that that shape up the landscape of Las Vegas.
Yeah.
The economy, social, political, and that's why I'm urging all of our community to get involved with every aspect of social life, political life. So that's where we are right now.
And I think that's why it's so great to have your organizations, reaching out not just to veterans, but other people, probably people in the business community, real estate community. Hey, this is who we are and what we do.
Yeah, and then actually we're known as the free income tax preparation organization, and we've been doing it since 2015.
Yeah.
And with that, we've actually helped our community to be able to get over $800,000 in refund.
Yeah.
And average about 700 to 750 tax people that we have helped. So
have that resource too. And and we do so many events, but the goal, and Vice, talk to us a little bit about this, maybe the challenges too of getting people to know about what you're doing, like the consular service. Maybe that gets more play because people really need those services. But I know ACDC has a number of events coming up, especially next month with Asian Pacific Heritage Month. Like we have the Run for Rice, right? That's coming up May 1st. That's where we benefit. And I don't know if you've heard about this yet, but ACDC is launching a new medical center. It's called Happy Medical Center. And this is a community base. They really want to help not just Asian Americans, but people who maybe can't afford or have, who need medical care but don't always have resource. So we have this big run coming up. Talk to us a little bit about that, Vice.
Yeah, so May 1st, we will be having our Walk for Right, Run
for
for Rice, Walk for Wellness
Yeah.
event at the CSN Charleston campus. And we will be providing not just health-related services, but also there are food available to
Yeah.
our attendees. And most importantly, we still have our vaccine clinic. So if anyone who needs a booster, we will be able to provide that through our providers such as Immunize Nevada and Optimal Medicine.
Yeah, and I think like when we have these great events, we want to get your group out there. We need for Bernie to get the word to all his Filipino friends and network,
Yes.
right? It's like come join the event, because I think sometimes the challenge is not just Filipino American community but other Asian American as well. It's like there's not that connection. Like we don't always like relay messages to each other, right? So what can we do better? Like what do you guys what do you want to kind of, how do you connect? And I think what's great, what you're doing, especially with these consular services, is you're hosting, you're helping to be part of that, right? Can we do more of that, you think, Bernie, to get people together and maybe know what ACDC is doing, what U.S. Filipino vets are doing?
Well, it's a good, coordination with the ACDC, because they are part of the Asians. And most of all is that they communicate with us,
Right.
and we disseminate the information, whatever beneficial program that they're having,
Yeah.
and that affects the Filipino American community.
Yeah.
And just like what she's telling right now, Vice telling us right now, the medical center, and that would be a lot of help,
Yeah.
especially for the underinsured.
Right.
know.
Yep.
So,
Uninsured, underinsured.
yeah,
That's who we're targeting, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
But as far as
Yeah.
communications, we have all the resources to communicate with our people. Myself alone, I have more than 4,000 email addresses of
I
the
see.
Filipino American
that's
community.
great. Yeah.
And I disseminate the calendar of events for everyone, for everyone to know that there are the upcoming events for the whole year.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's just that communicating. And I think what we do really well at ACDC is, getting out that newsletter, make sure Bernie has it and that your group, that you're on our list, make sure all that information gets out there. So, with this Philippine Consular Services, the reason we want to bring it up because we want people to be aware. Like ACDC will now, through this program, we put the word out. And the next one is coming out later this year, right? August? Is that when
Yes,
the next
it's
one
August
is?
6th and 7th.
August 6th and 7th. Same place, Palace Station?
No, it's Santa Fe Hotel
Oh, okay.
Casino.
Gotcha. So is there a portal? I know, do you have a website? Like, how do people know more about your organization and like upcoming services and things like that?
With us, we have our own website. It's in Facebook. It's Phil Veterans Group. You can see what's going on with our activities. And as I've said, the free income tax preparations every year when we start the taxes. And whatever activities that we have is over there.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to this, because we got boarded in already with the outreach. One thing I can suggest actually is, especially the seniors. I think there's the one who has a dire need with our assistance. I think ACDC may be able to assist because, they don't have that, not to put them down, but I mean, generally they're not
as connected.
Not techie, right? But there is a requirement that they have to download the form and stuff like that. If we can come up with a program maybe that we could assist them, that could be a big help for them. And if you're gonna you have to be prepared because there's certain ways that I get to learn from Mr. Benito how to really fill it out, what to need to be downloaded. It has to be PDF and stuff like that.
Right.
They have to be shared to our seniors. I think that's one thing that we need to be doing before this upcoming outreach.
And that's what you learn from each event. Like, how can we improve and how can we get better, right? How about you, Bernie? Anything else that we should be getting the word out there, addressing that really, is concerning for especially the Filipino American community?
Yes, well, actually everything is in place when it comes to communicating with our people. And with the social media that we have now, Facebook, everyone is, focusing on the Facebook. And we have this radio, it's the most important one. Thank you for PHLV Radio, that we are here and we can disseminate informations that are really beneficial and affecting the Filipino American community. And by this token, I tell you, it's easy here to communicate now with our people than before.
Yeah.
You know, we have the messenger, we have every sort of social media and communications that we that are available to them.
Right. No,
Yeah.
and it's true. And like you said, it's true. Seniors, we need to kind of help them maybe get into that generation. And that's true with business leaders, like people who own small businesses, they need that help as well,
Yeah.
right? And and that's why it's so great, I think, to have PHLV Radio and this show, because we can really, reach the Filipino American community, especially with the language. And that's where Vice will actually come in starting next month. She's going to be helping to host this show and do some in Tagalog as well. Especially with it being Asian Pacific Heritage Month, and we really want to focus on some of the issues. And talk to us, Vice, what are some of the things that you plan to talk about coming up in May?
Well, coming up in May, we have episodes on the Give and May campaign, wherein we support other nonprofit organizations, raise funds to provide more funding for their services, as well as a graduation, wherein we highlight AAPI graduates of universities and colleges here in Las Vegas, as well as upcoming. Those are just a few of that are.
We have so many coming
episodes.
up. Yeah,
Yes.
and it's so great to have you as a resource, because yes, you speak Tagalog and you can communicate and get people, because that's where we really reach the community through that in language too. So we're so excited to have you, Vice. You will be great, and we invite more people like Ronnie and Bernie on the show, to really get the word out to as many people as possible. So thank you so much to
thank
you,
you for
Ronnie
the
and Bernie and Vice,
Thank
for
you.
coming on the show today, and we can't wait to see what's to come, because so many exciting things on the table. So thank you so much for watching this episode of Family in Focus, and we'll see you and Vice next week on the next episode, next Monday on Family in Focus. Have a great day.